Bam. Uh-oh. Still got this playing, I bet. Oh, no, I don't. That's good. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, it is on here. Shit. Okay. Today we are reading, today's the 5th, so Mark 13, 1 through 13. Mark 13, 1 through 13. As Jesus was leaving the temple that day, one of his disciples said, "Teacher, look at these tremendous buildings. Look at the massive stones in the walls." Jesus replied, "These magnificent buildings will be so completely demolished that no stone will be left on top of another. Later, Jesus sat on the slopes of the Mountain of Olives across the valley from the temple. Peter, James, John, and Andrew came to him privately and asked, "When would all this take place? And will there be any sign ahead to show us when all this will be fulfilled?" Jesus replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you, because many will come in my name, claiming to be the Messiah. They will lead many astray, and wars will break out near and far, but don't panic. Yes, these things must come, but the end won't follow immediately. Nations and kingdoms will proclaim war against each other, and there will be earthquakes in many parts of the world and famines. But all this will be only the beginning of the horrors to come. But when these things begin to happen, watch out. You will be handed over to the courts and beaten in the synagogues. You will be accused before governors and kings of being my followers. This will be your opportunity to tell them about me. And the good news must first be preached to every nation. But when you are arrested and stand trial, don't worry about what to say in your defense. Just say what God tells you to. Then it is not you who will be speaking, but the Holy Spirit. Brothers will betray brothers to death. Fathers will betray their own children, and children will rise against their parents and cause them to be killed. And everyone will hate you because of your allegiance to me. But those who endure to the end will be saved." That is so true in these days and times. That is so true. So true. It's an ugly world right now. Okay. And we're going to read 1 Kings verse 6. 1 Kings verse 6. It was mid-spring during the 4th year of Solomon's reign that began the construction of the temple of the Lord. This was the 480 years after the people of Israel were delivered from their slavery in the land of Egypt. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The foyer at the front of the temple was 30 feet wide, running across the entire width of the temple. It projected out towards 15 feet from the front of the temple. Solomon also made narrow recessed windows throughout the temple. A complex of rooms was built against the outer walls of the temple, all the way around the sides and rear of the building. The complex was 3 stories high, the bottom floor being 7.5 feet wide, and the second floor 9 feet wide, and the top floor 10.5 feet wide. The rooms were connected to the walls of the temple by the beams resting ledges built out from the wall, so the beams were not inserted into the walls themselves. The stones used in the construction of the temple were pre-finished at the quarry, so the entire structure was built without the sound of a hammer, axe, or any iron tool at the building site. The entrance to the bottom floor was on the south side of the temple. There were winding stairs going up to the second floor, and another flight of stairs between the second and third floors. After completing the temple structure, Solomon put in a ceiling made of beams and planks of cedar. As already stated, There was a complex of rooms on 3 sides of the building, attached to the temple walls by cedar timbers. Each story of the complex was 7.5 feet high. Then the Lord gave this message to Solomon concerning this temple. You are building. If you keep all my laws and regulations and obey all my commands, I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father David. I will live among the people of Israel and never forsake my people. So Solomon finished building the temple. The entire inside from floor to ceiling was paneled with wood. He paneled the walls and ceilings with cedar. He used cypress for the floors. He partitioned off the inner sanctuary, the most holy place, at the far end of the temple. It was 30 feet and paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. The main room on the temple was outside the most holy place, was 60 feet long. Cedar paneling completely covered the stone walls throughout the temple, and the paneling was decorated with carvings of gourds and open flowers. Solomon prepared the inner sanctuary in the rear of the temple where the Ark of the Lord's covenant would be placed. This inner sanctuary was 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 30 feet high. Solomon overlaid its walls and ceilings with pure gold. He also overlaid the altar made of cedar. Then he overlaid the rest of the temple's interior with pure gold, and he made gold chains to protect the entrance of the most holy place. So he finished overlaying the entire temple with gold, including the altar that belonged to the most holy place. Within the inner sanctuary, Solomon placed 2 cherubims made of olive wood, each 15 feet tall. The wingspan of each of the cherubims was 15 feet, each wing being 7.5 feet long. The 2 cherubim were identical in shape and size. Each was 15 feet tall. Solomon placed them side by side in the inner sanctuary of the temple. Their outer wingspan reached from wall to wall, while their inner wings touched the center of the room. He overlaid the 2 cherubim with gold. All the walls in the inner sanctuary and the main room were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. The floor of both rooms were overlaid with gold. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, Solomon made double doors of olive wood with 5-sided doorposts. These doors were decorated with carvings of the cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and the doors were overlaid with gold. Then he made 4-sided doorposts of olive oil wood for the entrance to the temple. There were 2 folding doors of cypress wood, and each door was hinged to fold back upon itself. These doors were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and the doors were overlaid with gold. The walls of the inner courtyard were built so that there was one layer of cedar beams after every 3 layers of hewn stone. The foundation of the Lord's temple was laid in mid-spring of the 4th year of Solomon's reign. The entire building was completed in every detail by mid-autumn of the 11th year of his reign. So it took 7 years to build the temple. 7 years. 7 years. And let's get to Hosea 8. Hosea 8. Sound the alarm. The enemy descends like an eagle on the people of the Lord. For they have broken my covenant and revolted against my law. Now Israel pleads with me, help us, for you are our God. But it is too late. The people of Israel have rejected what is good, and now their enemies will chase after them. The people have appointed kings and princes, but not with my consent, by making idols for themselves. from their silver and gold. They have brought about their own destruction. O Samaria, I reject this calf, this idol you have made. My fury burns against you. How long will you be incapable of innocence? This calf you worship was crafted by your own hands. It is not God. Therefore, it must be smashed to bits. They have planted the wind and the harvest, the whirlwind. The stalks of wheat wither, producing no grain. And if there is any grain, foreigners will eat it. The people of Israel have been swaddled up. They lie among the nations like an old pot that no one wants, like a wild donkey looking for a mate. They have gone up to Assyria. The people of Israel have sold themselves to many lovers. But though they have sold themselves to many lands, I will now gather them together. Then they will writhe under a burden of the great king. Israel has built many altars to take away sin, but these very altars became places for sinning. Even though I gave them all my laws, they act as if the laws don't apply to them. The people of Israel love their rituals of sacrifice, but to me the sacrifices are all meaningless. I will call my people to account for their sins, and I will punish them. They will go back down to Egypt. Israel has built great palaces, and Judah has fortified its cities, but they have both forgotten their maker. Therefore, I will send down fire on their palaces and burn their fortresses. That's it. That's all. Amazing grace. God. We did that. July 5th, Mark 13, 1-13, 1 Kings 6, and Hosea 8.